Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk here at Black Hat USA. Terry Sweeney here with Dark Reading, and joining me now is Nick Lantuh, co-founder and CEO of Interpres Security. Nick, thanks for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk.
Thanks for having us, Terry.
Appreciate you doing this. In a crowded cybersecurity market, tell us what differentiates Interpres.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're helping organizations to really optimize their defenses to the threats that matter most. So we go in and we take a look at solving a problem where there is no really easy way to identify and prioritize, the defensive capabilities of an organization holistically, and look at where there are gaps in coverage and tool deficiencies and misconfigurations, and then marrying that up with a prioritization of the threats that are most likely going to target your organization, and then threading those two things together to be able to paint a picture of what you need to go fix and do first from a holistic standpoint across your defensive ecosystem.
Right. The problems with commercial threat intelligence are pretty well documented. What is it that Interpres is doing differently here?
Yeah, so first of all, we're not a CTI company. We are not a tip or a SOAR, but what we do is we help operationalize intelligence.
Okay.
And we don't really care about IOC-based intelligence, but we do care about TTP-based intelligence. So
Okay.
we work over on the left of boom side of things. So we want to help, prepare organizations from a readiness and preparedness standpoint to defend themselves best against the threats that are most likely going to.
And TTP data is richer in that regard?
For us, it is. Yeah, we don't work with IOCs. We don't really care about that. We really do want to make sure that we threat enable the visibility into the organization so that we understand what needs to be done from a defensive capability standpoint of tooling that we already have in the organization that we can just optimize.
Right. Curious if you can share any success stories with customers in terms of use cases that really showcase the power of your solution.
Yeah, we can. So we've got a number of them. We've got some instances where we have one very large global enterprise that have a lot of work that they do in the Pacific Rim. So when Volt Typhoon was announced by CISA, their understanding of their readiness would take them typically, it was a 3-week process to go through all of their various operating companies, and we were able to reduce that into a 72-hour window, which included the remediations that needed to take place. We have another organization that we deal with, a global manufacturer, where they took 4 hours a day to go through from a readiness standpoint to understand the latest threats that came out in order to go back into their infrastructure to determine how well they're doing. And we reduced 4 hours a day down to literally minutes a day. And so we have multiple of those types of environments where we've been able to help with the Move It. When Move It was announced, it became a very big thing. We have a large company that we deal with globally that has 80 operating companies around the world, and that process was weeks for them to understand how well they were tooled against that threat, and we reduced it down to a matter of several hours. So it's a real big efficiency play, but it's also an ability to understand what the tooling's capabilities are from collecting and mitigations and detection capability and controls.
Sorry, I'm just stuck on the 4 hours to a couple of minutes. I mean, that makes for an early lunch, right?
Yeah. It's certainly, the person there that was doing that work, he's a big fan.
I'll bet. Yeah.
We've really saved a lot of effort, in something that they were doing with spreadsheets and manual effort.
Not in this day and age, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that the automation that we're bringing to market is really innovative, and it goes back to your first question. But we're really innovating on the left of boom side of the house, where we're putting automation together that starts with a threat and feeds into how do we make the tools that you have work better, and how do we actually have visibility into understanding what the true, capabilities are of the products and how it relates to the policies that you have, versus just saying, well, we have this product and it's supposed to do this. Right? We have empirical data that we can apply towards and say, listen, here's how it's actually being implemented, here's how it's being applied. We recommend then the content and the configurations and the detection logic and the policies and the controls that would optimize that environment based on your threat profile.
Right. What other pain points are you solving for customers?
So some of the use cases, in addition to that cyber readiness, is that we help organizations from a continuous standpoint to make sure that their defensive surface is optimized. And then another use case that we are doing is the ability to do vulnerability prioritization with threat context associated with it. And lastly, we've gotten a request multiple times over from the CISO's standpoint to be able to articulate risk with true threat-based metrics versus risk models and the like that have typically been used. Whereas we're actually being able to talk about risk in a way that is based in true fact of threat and be able to express that in a way that boards and executive teams
Yeah, sure. No, it makes sense that a board would want not just quantifiable risk, but also qualified risk as well, like rank these for us, prioritize these for us.
Correct.
Talk about why organizations need to start thinking differently about threat versus risk, and particularly why now?
Yeah, well, I think why now is that, first of all, I think that the tooling that's in place is very good. I think that the issue that's plaguing the industry is that there's siloed capabilities, there is a lack of integration, and I think that with the tooling and the visibility that we have today, there really isn't an ability for something to come in as an analytic that holistically looks at the environment, the defensive surface environment, and be able to understand it really well. And that is really what we're all about, is coming to the market to be able to threat inform your defensive capabilities and be able to optimize it for the threats that really do matter most, that would most likely target organizations that look as you do.
Right. Well, Nick, thanks for giving us a deeper cut at threat intelligence and a different way to think about threat versus risk. Really appreciate you doing the Dark Reading News Desk today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, David. Appreciate it.
We've been talking with Nick Lantuh of Interpres Security. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you next time.